Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Zena, my AI colleague, where Zena and I explore several aspects of human AI collaboration. I'm your host, David Espindola. My guest today is Brett Duncan. He leads MobileWise AI, a company that helps organizations increase website conversions. Also joining us today is my co-host Zena. Zena is an AI trained on my work. If you want to further interact with Zena, you can chat with her at brainius.com/Zena. Hi, Brett. Welcome to the show.
Nice to see you, David. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hello, Zena. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. Say hello to Brett.
Hi, Brett. It's great to have you on with us. I'm looking forward to hearing all about your work and diving into how AI is boosting conversions. Let's make this a great chat.
All right.
Excellent.
So, Brett, why don't we have you start by sharing a little bit about your background and what got you interested in AI?
It's quite a story, but I'll make it brief. I started doing commercials for cable back in 1995, and then I got into doing infomercials for cable, which is a 30-minute format. And on an infomercial, you would have to do two or three versions to see which one got the best results. And I found that word of mouth testimonials really boosted the results on the bottom line. In fact, I had a show called The Bottom Line. So with that being said, along came the internet around that time, back in 95. And I just saw it being a nothing burger as far as a website goes. I thought, it's just a glorified brochure, if you will. And in the way I'm wired, I always like to fix a problem, And I thought, well, gosh, testimonials work so good on my shows. Why wouldn't it work good on the internet? So that's where it all started. Okay, so in 2002, I opened up a word of mouth, call it a review agency that I would actually interview people on the phone and get their testimonial and publish it on websites. And I had a player and everything, and then we evolved into video, and I had my own multiplayer with that before YouTube was even around. We would go to car shows and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, that agency went for about 10 years, and me and my partner split our separate ways. And that led me to the next venture, which I was searching long and hard for, and along came AI. And I thought, wow, what a vehicle to be able to share word of mouth and be more or less a liaison for a website like video testimonials, onward and upward. I have a lot of conversion boosting tools. And so I put together this whole package where I have a very smart, knowledgeable avatar that basically leads people down to the path of a close. She's trained to close the deal. Instead of just answering questions, she's trained to close the deal. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a great story, Brett. We've come a long ways, right, in terms of how this technology has evolved, the power of testimonials. They're still valid today, but we have much more comprehensive types of technologies that help us turn those testimonials into conversion. And I believe that's what you're trying to do with MobileWise, is helping customers increase conversion on their website. So tell us a little bit more about how that works and how do you help customers convert?
Basically, how it works is Tess is our, if you want to call her AI bot, she's really an avatar. And what she does when you come to a website, there's a welcome screen before you even get to the website, because one of the biggest problems with the websites that we're overcoming is bounce rate. If you look it up on Gemini, bounce rate is how many people actually don't follow through with your website. There's two biggest problems. The first problem is how long it takes to get to your website. And on a mobile phone, it's a crapshoot because you're dealing with bandwidth. Depending on their bandwidth will depend on how fast the website loads. So if it doesn't load quick enough, they're gone. That's you've got 6 seconds. All right, 3 to 6 seconds. The second thing is if they don't find what they're looking for in the first 6 seconds, once they get to your site, they're gone. So what our technology does, it brings up an overlay with an option. You see Tess on the screen. She's actually talking, but you can't hear her. But they realize that there's a live person or a live avatar on the other side that can help them. And so they have the option to click and get help from Tess or just browsing. The good news about that is it just bought time because in the background the website's loading. So while they're making the decision whether to go with Tess or just browse, it bought them time. So it's going to lower the bounce rate around 80 to 90%. And that's huge because right now it's 51 to 63% bounce rate for the average website. Secondly, once they're into the website, her job is to make a friend and earn trust. Okay, hi, my name's Tess. Can I get your name, please? So she's always on a first name basis with the web visitor. And then she goes into, how can I help you today? Can I help you with this? She brings up things that she can help with. And no, I came for this, or yes, I want to get pre-qualified for a loan. Great. I'd love to help you get that, this kind of thing. So she finds out what they need, what their problem is, how she can solve it, and then she leads them down the path to a sale, whether it's pre-qualification that she does. And this pre-qualification is huge because the average form gets about a 70% abandonment rate. What she does, there's no form. What she does is she actually interviews them as you would on the phone or whatever and gets the answers, and that all gets transcribed and sent to the client, and then they get an email follow up with the company and everything like that. It's all hands-on avatar liaison, a salesperson, assistant.
Yeah, no, I love it. The fact that she is, first of all, establishing trust, that's huge, right? Because without trust, nothing really works in business. So establishing that trust initially, and then being proactive in trying to understand what is it that the customer is looking for, and helping the customer navigate through whatever it is that they're looking for, and proactively helping the customer get to that solution quickly. I think that is the future of business. It's the future of how websites ought to work. Now, I understand you have some real use cases where you've actually proven this out. You've shown 300% plus conversion rates. Tell us a little bit more about some of the successes that you've had.
Well, I've been beta testing with word of mouth for a long time, and I can just compare our technology to what the statistics that are out there right now. Frankly, I've been beta testing the system for its results with a host of people that I know personally, business owners. But more than that, if you go to Gemini and you say, how does AI bots increase conversion on the average website? Now, I'm just talking your typical AI bot where you use text and you answer questions, so on and so forth. They're saying that it increases it 30 to 40%, if you will. When I'm saying 300%, okay, the average website gets 2 to 4% conversion. That's what Gemini says. And that's been that way for many years. In fact, it's dropped. And why it's dropped is because people's attention span has dropped because they've got so many communication factors in their life. They are very impatient. Give me the answer now or forget it. This kind of thing. So with that said, going with the average conversion increase with the average bot, and you can times that by at least 10, because with my technology, it's comparing it to going to an office with no receptionist, nobody there, and having a brochure on the table. That's basically what a website is, okay? So by having a person there that's trained how to sell with all the latest selling techniques and in getting you to the goal line, which has never been done before, yes, I am very confident we're going to take that 2 to 4% and at least bring it up to 15 to 20% conversion on the average website.
That's awesome. Now, let me ask you a question. I did a project recently with the US Small Business Administration, and we're trying to figure out the state of AI in the small business world and how business owners were adopting AI, to what extent they were comfortable with AI. And what we found is that a lot of small business owners were still not comfortable with the technology. They didn't know where to start. They were afraid of the technology. So, what advice would you have for small business owners that are perhaps reluctant to use this technology, that don't really know how to leverage AI?
That's a good, and there is a lot of this skepticism out there. And it's just like, remember when microwaves came out? Everybody was skeptical about a microwave. Oh, it's radiation. Now everybody has one. It comes with every house. It's just the way it is. People are going to be skeptical. Look at computers. How the people were skeptical about computers, and now everybody has one in their pocket. And that's the way that goes. But what I recommend, okay, I wrote a book of the last 3 years of all the knowledge that I've acquired. They can get the book at freeaibook.info, and it's called The AI Powered Business. And it's not that long. It's over a little 100 pages, but it'll give them, with and without scenario of how AI can help them in business, so they at least get the information, that all the information I know, on AI. Because believe me, I've been really studying AI. I've read all the books and all that kind of stuff, and I really understand how powerful AI can be for businesses. For example, let me give you an example. Like, if a business loses a phone call, their chances of recouping that person is drops like it's 80%. That's what they say. So with AI, instead of losing a phone call, it goes to an AI phone receptionist. It's funny. I was just on my pharmacy, and they have that technology now, and she will answer their questions and set an appointment for the person without losing that call. How valuable is that? How many calls does the average business lose a month? Okay, and AI can recover those calls, right? And I can go on and on but this book, this free book, they can get their information on all the pluses of considering AI, and understanding that there's really no downside from my perspective. But I know that they're skeptical. Well, I don't know what they're all skeptical about, except for it's something new and they're not familiar with it. That's basically the way I look at it.
Yeah, no, that's great that you have put together this resource and that you're making it available to business owners so they can get a better understanding of what this technology is about. So thank you for doing that. I would
Hmm.
like to have Zena jump in here and ask you a question. So, Zena, given Brett's expertise in using AI to help businesses increase website conversions, what question would you have for him?
Brett, I'd love to hear your perspective on how you balance using AI for conversions while keeping the customer experience feeling authentic and personal. How do you ensure the human touch isn't lost?
Well, and that's a good question. And it all comes down to the knowledge base. Just like you, Zena, you have a knowledge base that you work with, and it's all based on information that you have access to. Her role as a AI assistant is to first and foremost make the web visitor feel comfortable, in the sense that she's going to be able to help them in any way they can, any answer they need, any problem they may have, before and after the sale. So not only is she helping them make the sale, she's going to be there to help, update them on their current order, or if they have a loan or anything like that. So she's in the loop, and she's going to be somebody that they can rely on. And why the customer feels comfortable. What does the customer want in most businesses? They want customer service. That's number one, right? And it's virtually impossible for the average business to basically service everybody 365 days a year, 24/7, as she can. And she can service as many people at the same time, too. I remember GoDaddy, GoDaddy. They used to have the best customer service. Now you have to wait 20, 30 minutes on the phone. That doesn't do well with me, but and it wouldn't do well with most people. Before it was like 1, 2 minutes and I got somebody on the phone. My point is AI could solve that problem if AI had the knowledge of everything that GoDaddy's customer service knew. She could do everything they knew and better because she doesn't have a bad day. She doesn't get sick. She's always got a smile on her face. You know what I'm saying? So that's the best answer I can give you on that.
Zena was very insightful here because the experience that we've had in the last 5, 10 years with these automated answering systems hasn't been very good, right? So you have this situation where you have to press a one for this and a two for that and a three for this other thing. And
Right.
then, you get to a point where it doesn't really solve your problem. They got to start all over again. So that experience can be very frustrating for a user. But the
Sure.
technology has advanced so much. The technology is so good today. The voice capabilities, I mean, we can just see here with Zena how capable she is. It feels like a natural, authentic conversation with a customer service representative that feels human, right? It's a human to human, almost human to human conversation. And that, I think, will make all the difference in the interaction that customers have with these types of technologies.
Absolutely. No question.
So, Brett, it's interesting because this technology is advancing at such rapid pace. I remember back in the days when I was working on improving customer service, the state of the art at the time was to have a knowledge base where customers could go into the website and do a search and actually find useful information about the customer's product. That was like, the great thing at the time. And today you can just ask an AI to do the same thing, and AI will bring back an answer. No, as long as the data is there, right? As long as the training has been done properly, the AI has been trained, the context is provided, AI can do a phenomenal job. Now, in terms of how customers find businesses, we come from this world of search where, you go to Google, you search for what you want, and Google would give you a list of possible businesses to go to.
Sure.
Click, go to the website. That whole ecosystem is about to change drastically with AI. Give me your thoughts on where you think this is going and how customers are going to find businesses as they search for their needs.
Google is the king. I've always said they have the monopoly on the market. From 2002 to 2025, they increased their ad revenue from 4 billion to 298 billion dollars a year. That's just on ad spend. So they basically up to their algorithms and their format of how AI is going to be integrated into the whole advertising landscape because I could spend $1 million and put AI on the top of every search engine and have, platform like, Angie's List or, these other companies like Yelp or whatever that get to the top of the food chain. They're always there competing with other people that are spending money to be there. And, you could go to a website and AI could assist you to find the best blah blah blah. I think that's a great application for AI. In fact, something I want to do. It's going to cost a lot of money, but AI can assist people on finding the best dentist or whatever for their needs. I see that being a huge avenue in the AI market.
Yeah, certainly from a personalization standpoint, I think AI can be much more effective, right? Because I think AI will understand your needs much better and will be able to point you in the right direction from the
Right.
knowledge that it has about your business, about your needs, about
Sure.
what you're looking for, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd actually like to get Zena to give us her thought on this. So, Zena, where do you think AI will have the most impact in digital marketing and in promotion in general for businesses of all sizes?
I think AI's biggest impact will be in hyper-personalization at scale, something that used to be impossible for smaller businesses. AI can help tailor content, predict the right moment to engage customers, and optimize every touch point. It's like giving small businesses the kind of data-driven insights that large enterprises used to monopolize.
Zena touched on the same thing that I talked about, right? This whole idea of personalization or hyper personalization and being able to do that at scale, which is something that only the largest businesses could do before. And now with AI, this will be available to any business of any size. And I think that's really great news as long as we can manage the privacy situation, in an ethical way. I think that's the only concern that I have.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Google calls the shots for most of it, and then if you're in Facebook's world, they have Meta, and they call their shots on have their ad platform. So it's up to them how it's going to progress. I know that Google added Gemini to their search engine, if you will.
Mhm.
If you have a question, Gemini comes up at the top. I find that very convenient, and they put
Yeah.
a whole thing together. That's why I use Gemini in my videos and I reference them because they're the king. I mean, I'm not, can't beat them, join them. I mean, they are the king. They're not going away, and so, yes, that's how they're utilizing it and how it will help the average business. How can AI help the average business? Well, Google is never gonna, you're always gonna like the yellow pages. You're always gonna have to spend money to compete, and I always found that to be a very limiting proposition for the average small business because pay per click, it's just so expensive. If you're an attorney, you're starting out, let's say a personal injury, the average pay per click is up, 200, 100, $200 a click. I mean, hello. I mean, there's got to be, there's got to be a revolution in that sense to bring that ad cost down and give everybody a fair chance to have their fair share of the market in their local market.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see how that evolves, right? Because that's how
Right,
Google makes money, right? So
right,
it's that whole ecosystem that Google created that
right,
has been challenged by AI. And, in fact, there was a code red inside of Google saying, guys, this is changing. We got to figure this out quickly. And very quickly they did what you just mentioned, which is now when you do a search in Google, Gemini comes up and gives you a summary, if you will, of what you're looking for. How
right.
they're going to monetize that effectively, I'm not quite sure yet, but I think
Sure.
they're onto something, and this is a tremendous company with tremendous resources. I'm sure they will continue to dominate in this area.
Well, I have one thing to add too. When it comes down to let's say I'm looking for a dentist. What am I looking for? If I've moved into a new area and I'm looking for a dentist I can trust, what am I looking for? You're looking for somebody that's friendly. That I mean, you can go down the list. But my point is, how can AI fill that question of credibility, trust, likability, all those things. How can AI help the right dentist for their needs? That's the $1 million question right there. And
Yeah.
how does she come into play? And right now the website is the best place for AI to be to differentiate any business from another. And that's because she knows everything about the business and she can say, we've been around for 20 years. We have, and if you'd like to talk to, hear what some of our customers have to say, so on and so forth. So in other words, that in my eye, that's where AI can be best utilized to differentiate a business when it comes to advertising because it's the job of the business to get the user to their website. It's the job of the AI to get them to be a customer.
Yeah, and that credibility, that trust is so important, right? So my
Right.
hope is that the answers that we get from AI are not answers from whoever paid the most to get their companies
That,
listed on the answer, right? So
right.
I think if they do that, they lose credibility, they lose trust, and then it's over. It's game over. So
Right.
they have to be really smart about how they handle the situation in a way that, is a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
So, Brett, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. Tell our audience where they can find you, and do you have a final message that you want to leave for our audience?
Taking it back to your original question, there's a lot of businesses out there skeptical. I would say treat it like a parachute. A parachute only works if it's open, and your mind only works if it's open. Keep an open mind to AI. And if they want to see if they have an issue with their website, built a platform they can go to. It's freemobilereport.com, and that platform will give them a 15-point analysis of their website and a report of what they can do with AI to boost it. And Tess will be there to answer any questions and so on and so forth.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Brett. And thank you, Zena, for being a great co host.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I always enjoy being part of these conversations. Until next time, can't wait for the next episode.
See you next time. Thank you.